The punch came before anyone had time to understand what was happening. 1 second the street was quiet, calm, ordinary. The next, everything shattered. "Step out of the vehicle." The officer's voice cut through the night like a blade, but it wasn't the words that broke the moment. It was the violence behind them, the suddenness, the certainty. And in that instant, Daniel Reeves knew something was very, very wrong. It had been a good night, the kind people remember. Daniel drove slowly through the familiar streets of Brookhaven, the kind of neighborhood where porch lights glowed warm and steady, where people waved even if they didn't know you well. Autumn had settled in gently, leaves scattered across sidewalks, the air cool but not cold. His daughter, Leela, had just finished her first major role in the school play. 15 years old and fearless, she had stepped onto that stage like she belonged there. Daniel had sat in the audience, arms folded tight across his chest, fighting back emotion the entire time. He had lost that fight during her final scene. Now driving home, he smiled to himself, pride settled deep in his chest, quiet, full. Life felt right. Then the lights appeared. Red and blue exploded behind him, flashing hard through his rearview mirror. Daniel blinked once, steadying himself. He checked his speed. 23 in a 30 zone. No sudden moves, no mistakes. Still the cruiser stayed close, too close. He exhaled slowly and pulled over. Hands on the wheel, 10 and 2. Wait. Always wait. The officer stepped out of his vehicle. Broad shoulders, quick stride, no hesitation in his movements. Daniel noticed something immediately. The body camera on the officer's chest wasn't blinking. It wasn't on. The officer reached the window. License and registration. No greeting, no explanation. Just authority. "Good evening, officer," Daniel said calmly. "May I ask why I've been stopped?" The officer's jaw tightened. Failure to signal. Daniel didn't react. He hadn't changed lanes, not once. But arguing here would be useless. "My license is in my back pocket," he said carefully. "Registration in the glove box. I'm going to reach for it." The officer stared at him. There was something in his eyes. Not suspicion. Annoyance. "You always give speeches during a stop," he said. Daniel ignored it. "I'm reaching for the glove compartment now." Slow, controlled. His hand moved. And then, impact. The fist came through the window like a hammer. Pain exploded across Daniel's face. A second punch followed instantly, snapping his head sideways. His ears rang. Vision blurred. He didn't move. Didn't fight. Didn't react. Somewhere deep inside him, instinct took over. Stay still. Stay alive. Get out of the car. The door yanked open. Daniel stepped out slowly, unsteady but compliant. Hands behind his back. Cold metal snapped tight around his wrists. "I didn't." "Resisting," the officer said loudly, already speaking into his radio. Subject made sudden movement. Daniel stared ahead, blood dripping from his lip. Across the street, a woman stood frozen with her dog, watching. No one spoke. No one moved. The night swallowed everything. The holding cell smelled like bleach and exhaustion. Daniel sat on the bench, spine straight, hands resting on his knees. 4 hours. No explanation. No conversation. Just waiting. He focused on his breathing. In, out. He had learned that years ago. Back when chaos meant survival. Now it meant control. But beneath that control, something stirred. Not anger. Not fear. Something heavier. A quiet realization. This wasn't random. This was something else. His sister Maya, Arrived just before midnight. She didn't say anything when she saw him. She just held his arm and walked him out. In the car, silence filled the space between them. At home, Leela was waiting. She ran to him and stopped. Her face changed instantly. "Dad, what happened?" Daniel knelt slightly, ignoring the pain. "I'm okay," he said softly. "It looks worse than it is." She didn't believe him, but she nodded anyway, because she needed to. The next morning, Maya didn't wait. "We're filing a complaint," she said, already opening her laptop. Daniel nodded, but something in his expression stayed distant. He had seen systems before. He knew how they worked. Still, he agreed, because some things had to be done, even if you didn't expect them to work. 2 days later, everything changed. Maya got a call from their neighbor, Mr. Alvarez, 70 years old, retired electrician, always on his porch. "Come over," he said, "now." When she arrived, he handed her his tablet. "I think you need to see this." The video was grainy, shaky, shot from across the street. But it was clear enough. Daniel's hands, visible still on the wheel. The officer suddenly striking. No warning. No threat. No justification. Maya watched it once. Then again. Then a third time. Her hands trembled. "This," she whispered. Mr. Alvarez nodded slowly. "I didn't even know I had it," he said. "My granddaughter was on video call with me when it happened." Maya looked up. "This changes everything." The lawyer, Rachel Monroe, didn't waste time. "This is strong," she said after watching the footage. "Very strong. But they won't give in easily." Daniel leaned forward slightly. "Good," he said. Weeks passed. Then came the first blow. The officer was cleared internally. "Reasonable force," the report stated. Daniel read it once. Set it down. Didn't react. Rachel called him immediately. "We're filing in federal court," she said. "Civil rights violation. $3 million in damages." Daniel didn't hesitate. "Do it." Then the smear campaign began. Old complaints. Minor incidents. Anything they could find. Paint him as difficult. Unstable. Unreliable. Maya slammed her laptop shut. "This is garbage." "It's strategy," Rachel said calmly. "They can't attack the video, so they attack him." Daniel remained quiet. He understood. This wasn't about truth. It was about doubt. The turning point came quietly. Late one evening. A knock on Rachel's office door. Officer Jenna Collins stood there. Nervous, tense. "I need to talk," she said. Inside, she didn't sit fully. Just perched on the edge of the chair. "Before the stop," she said slowly, "he made a comment." Rachel leaned forward. "What kind of comment?" Collins hesitated. "About the neighborhood," she said. "About who lives there." Silence filled the room. "And the next morning," Collins continued, "Captain Harris called me." Rachel's eyes sharpened. "And he told me to keep my report simple." Rachel nodded slowly. "That's witness interference." Collins swallowed. "I know. And you're willing to testify." A long pause. Then, "Yes." Things moved fast after that. Evidence piled up. Old complaints surfaced. Patterns emerged. And then, the final piece. A GPS log. The officer's cruiser had been parked on that street. 11 minutes. Waiting. Not patrolling. Waiting. The traffic violation. Never happened. He hadn't followed Daniel. He had chosen him. Rachel stared at the data, then looked up. "This isn't excessive force," she said quietly. "This is premeditated." The federal investigation exploded. The city scrambled. The officer was fired. The captain resigned. Charges against Daniel were dropped. But Daniel didn't celebrate. Not yet. Not until it was finished. The trial lasted 4 days. Day 1, the video. 11 seconds. Played in silence. The courtroom didn't breathe. Day 2, the complaints. 5 victims. Ignored. Dismissed. Buried. Day 3, Officer Collins. Her voice steady. Her truth undeniable. Day 4, Daniel. He didn't perform. Didn't dramatize. He simply told the truth. About the night. About the pain. About his daughter. About what it cost. The jury listened. Every word. 6 hours later. The verdict came. $3 million. Silence. Then, relief. Real deep. Daniel didn't move at first. Then he turned. Maya was crying openly. He reached for her. Held her hand. Outside, the crowd waited. Neighbors, students, friends. Strangers. All there. A reporter stepped forward. "What should people take from this?" she asked. Daniel looked into the camera. "For years," he said, "I've told people the system can work." He paused. "I still believe that. But it only works when people refuse to stay silent." He glanced at the crowd. At his daughter. At the faces that stood with him. "It costs something," he continued. "It always does. But the cost of doing nothing is higher." He took a breath. "And we're not as alone as they think." The crowd erupted. Not polite applause. Real. Loud. Unfiltered. Daniel felt something shift inside him. For the first time since that night. Peace. Then, arms wrapped around him. Leela. He held her tight. Eyes closed. And finally, he let go of everything he had been carrying. Not the memory. Not the truth. But the weight. And for the first time in a long time, he felt free.